Today's objective is solving multi-step inequalities. Multi-step inequalities are almost the same as multi-step equations, except when your last step is multiplying or dividing by a negative. Because remember, when we were solving the inequalities using multiplication or division, if you multiply or divide by a negative number, you have to change the direction of the inequality symbol to keep the statement true. Okay, so here we go. 88 plus 10x is greater than or equal to 138. And this is a nice problem already because there's no negatives, huh? All right, our 10x is all by itself, so all we need to do is move the 88. So we'll subtract 88 from both sides of the equation, which leaves us 10x is greater than or equal to 50. Do the inverse operation, divide both sides by 10, we get x is greater than or equal to 5. In these problems, we're just going to be solving and graphing. We're not going to be doing the official check, okay? So remember, to graph, you make a number line, 3 increment marks. The numbers go underneath the number line, not on top. You decide if this is going to be a closed point or an open point. This is closed because it's or equal to, so you color that in at 5. And then I always want you to have your variable on the left in your final answer. That way you can use the inequality symbol also as a directional symbol. And this is pointing to the right, so we go to the right from our point. Here's another problem. X divided by -4 minus 6 is less than -3. I put a bazillion negatives in this one. All right, inverse operations, add 6 to both sides of your inequality. And that leaves you with, I'm going to cover this up, x divided by -4 is less than 3. What's the inverse of divide by -4? Multiply by -4. Please notice and remember, when you are multiplying, you're not putting a .4 below or an x4 below. You're using parentheses and you're putting it by the numerator. If you really wanted to, you could write -4/1. Because then you're lining up since this is like a fraction, you're lining up your numerator and denominator. I don't demand that you do that, but I do want you to not use a .5 or a x5. I want parentheses up by the numerator. All right, enough lecture. All right, anything over itself cancels out. You can write that if you'd like to. We just have x. 3 times -4 is -12. But since we are multiplying by a negative, you need to change the direction of the inequality to be greater than. So it's x is greater than -12. Now when I make my number line, 3 increment marks, my answer in the middle, and since it's negative, you need to remember to have these going in the right order. This is an open point because it doesn't have the or equal to, and since my x is on the left, I can use this as a directional symbol and go to the right. Let's do one more of these. -2x minus 5 is greater than or equal to 13. All right, my first inverse operation will be to add 5 to both sides of the inequality, which leaves me with -2x is greater than or equal to 18. Doing the inverse, I divide both sides by -2, which leaves me with x on the left. 18 divided by -2 is -9 on the right. But since I divided by a negative, I have to change the direction of my inequality so that its x is less than or equal to -9. Make my number line, 3 increment marks, solution in the center, numbers on either side appropriately, closed circle because it has the or equal to, and the direction line goes to the left. Here are a few that look different, but they are easy to solve. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3. In the first problem, we have the quantity of x plus 5 divided by 3 is less than or equal to 2. Now, if this was x divided by 3 plus 5, we could subtract 5 from both sides of the inequality. But when you have more than one term in the numerator, you can't do that. You need to clear the denominator. And how you do that is to just put parentheses on both sides of the inequality and multiply by the denominator. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. Now, if you wanted to, you could make this 3/1, just like we did on the other problem. And then remember, when you're multiplying with fractions, you should always simplify first. So these 3's cancel out. So you are not doing the distributive property. You're simplifying your fraction, okay? So if you want to, you could write 1 over 1, but that's not necessary. So you're just left with x plus 5 is less than or equal to, and then you need to do the math over here. 2 times 3 is 6. Now you have this nice little problem. X plus 5 is less than or equal to 6. Oopsie, didn't mean to put my hand over it. Subtract 5 from both sides, and you get x is less than or equal to 1. No negatives. That was nice. Make your line, 3 increment marks, answer in the middle, closed circle, and the line goes to the left. Here's another problem. Negative 5x plus 2, the quantity of that, divided by 4, is greater than or equal to negative 2. Okay, I need to clear the denominator, so I put parentheses. I rewrote it so you could see it. You don't need to rewrite it. Put parentheses on both sides of the inequality. Multiply by the denominator. This is the same as 4 over 1, so these 4's cancel out. Not a very good line. Let's make a better line. Okay, you are not doing the distributive property. You're left with negative 5x plus 2 is greater than or equal to negative 8, because you have to do the math. Now, we would subtract 2 from both sides, and then we have negative 5x is greater than or equal to negative 10, because they're the same sign, so we add them. Divide both sides by negative 5. This side is x. This side is positive 2, because negative divided by negative is positive, but you have to change the direction of the inequality symbol to keep the statement true. All right, 1, 2, 3. It's colored in circle. Line goes to the left. Where kids make mistakes is they put an equal sign instead of their inequality. So just don't write equals instead of your greater than or less than, okay? All right, I want to do one more problem, and I'm going to do it 2 ways to show you that it doesn't matter how you do it, you'll get the same answer. Here's my problem. 2 times the quantity of 17 minus 5y is greater than 3y minus 5. So I'm going to do the distributive property and get 34 minus 10y is greater than 3y minus 5. Now, I have variables on both sides of the inequality, so I'm going to move the smaller variable term, which is negative 10y. So I'll add negative 10y to both sides of my inequality. That leaves me with 34 is greater than 13y minus 5. So I have all of my variable terms on the right, so I need to move the 5 over to the left. So I'll add 5 to both sides of my inequality, and that leaves me with 39 is greater than 13y. Do the inverse, divide both sides by 13, and I get 3 is greater than y. But that is not how I want you to write your final answers. I always want your variable on the left. So when we move our variable to the left, we get y is less than 3. Remember, when you're moving this, since you can think of either way, they're both highly sophisticated. The pointy part is by the y. So remember, when you rewrite it, make the pointy part of your inequality by y. Or you could say the big side is by the 3. So when you rewrite it, make sure the big side is by the 3. That's kind of a joke, all right? Inequalities, here's our inequality. It's an open circle, and the line goes to the left. If you had not flipped it and still tried to use this as your directional arrow, you would have gotten the open circle correctly, but your line would have been the wrong way. So always rewrite it with the variable on the left. All right, I did it one more time, because what if you do your distributive property, but what if you move the 3y instead of the negative 10 because you are ignoring the signs? So we'll subtract 3y from both sides of our inequality, and I get 34 minus 13y is greater than negative 5. All right, you're with me? Now we need to move the 34, so I'll subtract 34 from both sides, and I get negative 13y is greater than negative 39. This really points out to you why I like you to move the smaller variable term, because now have 2 negatives. You might forget one of them. It's just more of a chance of making a mistake. But if you do everything right, you're still going to get the same right answer. So I'll divide both sides by negative 13 now. Negative divided by negative is positive. I'm dividing by a negative, so I have to change the direction of my inequality symbol. And negative 39 divided by negative 13 is positive 3. So notice my solutions are the same, okay? So it doesn't matter if you don't move the smallest. If you do everything right, you'll still get the same solution. However, there's more of a chance of making a mistake if you are dealing with a lot of negatives. That's it.